We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, the podcast where we explore the art of songwriting, celebrate incredible artists, and dive deep into the stories behind their music. I'm your host, Simon Fink, and as always, thank you for joining us. Our guests today on the podcast are British duo the Ting Tings. Breaking out in the 2000s with a run of infectious indie dance hits like That's Not My Name, Shut Up and Let Me Go, and Great DJ, the band quickly became a global sensation. Their tracks soundtrack iconic iPod commercials, earned them Grammy and BRIT Award nominations, and it saw them take home Ivor Novello and MTV Awards. And recently their music found a fresh new wave of listeners thanks to a sync in the Netflix show The Life List, which pushed That's Not My Name to over 1 million new streams. Today, the Ting Tings return with Home, their first new album in 6 years, and it is a sharp left turn in the best way. Trading in their indie pop roots for a lush, Laurel Canyon-inspired sound, Home is a sun-drenched, West Coast-style singer-songwriter record that sees the duo exploring entirely new sonic territory. Now, in today's episode, we're chatting with Jules and Katie about the making of Home and what inspired this artistic shift. We talk about the enduring popularity of their earlier work, how strong songwriting foundations can breathe new life into a song years later, and the logistics of adapting this new sound for the stage, including getting Jules out from behind the drum kit. Now, we want to say a massive thank you to Christina for her help with today's episode. The brand new Ting Tings record Home is out right now, and you'll find links in today's show notes on where you can stream or purchase the record. You'll also find the details of the band's social media and where you can grab tickets to see them live. While you're in the show notes, why not follow us across all of our socials and subscribe to This Song Is Yours wherever you get your podcast from. We've got bonus episodes dropping all throughout this month in June, so please subscribe to stay up to date with all of our new episodes. Now let's get into it. Here is our conversation with Jules and Katie from the Ting Tings. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Katie and Jules from the Ting Tings. Katie and Jules, hello. How's it going?
Hello.
Hiya.
Good. We're in sunny Spain, so we're very happy at the moment, even though my feet are freezing. But yeah, we're good.
That is very good to hear that you're good. And hopefully throughout the point of our conversation, maybe through the conversation, maybe just by location and where you are, those feet do warm up somehow. Hopefully some way it happens. Thank you both for coming to have a chat with us on the podcast today. It is much appreciated because it's a very exciting time. There's a brand new Ting Tings record that is coming out this week. Congratulations on this. As the record is coming out, and I'm sure that you're kind of used to, the album rollout, but how is this one feeling? This record is titled Home. How are the feelings around the band in terms of putting this album out?
Well, we're obviously very excited. Every time we put a record out, it's always exciting. But this one has something really special about it. A, because we're in a different place in our lives over all the years of touring and putting music out. This one, we're a family, and we've done it in a different way. We've been very honest about it, very organic. We've gone back to our core instruments. We kind of left the laptops and the DAWs and all the studio tech stuff out of it. We went back to guitars and drums and pianos and organs and stuff when we were writing. And everything came really natural on this one. Look, when you make records, you know where you struggle as writers and artists. You kind of look at a record and think, God, we really want it to sound like this, and you fight to get there, in the studio, out the studio. This one, we knew exactly what we wanted it to sound like. We were inspired by an array of our all-time favourite bands, going from the Fleetwood Macs. I mean, we talked about this a lot. Fleetwood Mac, Steely Dan's, Bread, Supertramp, Dire Straits. And, there's a whole list of those that we can go through later. But we've never stopped listening to those bands, like ever. Since we've known each other in the band, we would always put that music on when we were listening to records, whether it be vinyl or through streaming platform stuff. And when we decided that we were going to write again and think about a new record, you know, there's that thing about why are you doing it? What are you writing about? What do you want to say? Or, you know, this one was simple. There's a piano in the room. There was all our instruments, and we just took to the instruments and we just thought about our inspiration, and everything just made sense from the first note we played. You know, we have a daughter. Our lives have changed. Our touring methods changed. Our outlook on the way we go about our life changed. It just came out on this record. It just floated out of us. It was amazing. And so that's why this record's really special. We're totally independent artists. You know, we go where we want, we play where we want, we book our own shows, and we do practically everything really with our little team. And it's just this amazing freedom, both in the writing sense from making the record to the ongoing touring, you know, that we're planning and making videos and being on social media, and everything feels very, very kind of like in each day.
Mm-hmm. It's an incredible new record, and it's sonically, as you've kind of mentioned, you've already kind of given away what I was going to talk about next, was the fact that sonically this is a brand new kind of sound for the Ting Tings. I think that people would obviously know you from some of your earlier work and then some of those albums that have been released in the last few years. But I think that Home definitely touches on those bands that you spoke about. I think there's definitely elements of Fleetwood Mac, Steely Dan. There was a few tracks that I got like hints of like the Eagles maybe. I don't know if I was maybe just kind of hearing my own thing there. Yeah. Was it difficult, or was it scary maybe even to approach, it's music that you love, it's music that is so ingrained in your own personal life, but when you're maybe known for a certain genre or like sounds, was there any apprehension maybe in approaching writing these kind of songs and having like a more organic or like 70s West Coast kind of sound to this record?
Well, the process we kind of went through was we thought about calling ourselves a different band name. We literally designed our logo. We was going to call ourselves DiMartino and White, just to like get ourselves in the headspace of like let go of that weight of what people might expect from a Ting Tings record. We have made completely different records every time we've made an album, really, over the past like 15, 16 years. And we've been writing together for nearly 20 years now. But we know that people would still know like that's not my name and sit up and let me go and Great Didi as kind of benchmarks of what a Ting Ting sound was. And by calling ourselves DiMartino and White, and we made like a big mood board and stuck it in our studio, and it had like the Carpenters on there. It had, all these amazing bands that we were influenced by, and like the look and warm feels and color tones of like orange and all the things that kind of created a mood. And that really helped us. It was towards kind of getting our social media up and running and creating content that we said, really, why are we not using the Ting Tings? It's, it's recognizable and it's us and we're really proud of it. But in a way, I'm kind of glad we went down that mentality of calling ourselves a different band name, because we wrote this album without any weight. It was glorious. It was complete and utter joy to make. It took us 4 years because we had a baby, and we was like, we do it ourselves, we write it ourselves, we do it all ourselves. And it was meticulous. Jules in the studio was so meticulous about sounds and what equipment we used. And I just feel like, it was a complete labour of love. It sounds exactly how we wanted, which is rare, because even when you start off thinking what you want a record to sound like or what video you want to make, it never fully ends up there and fully realised. But this is a special record for us. It's very much about our lives and very much about us as people. It's not something like a persona that we're behind. It's us writing about our lives, so it's very personal.
I absolutely love that. I think one thing that has been done really well, it was on, I'm going to say it was on social media the other day, and full disclosure to the listener, we might be chatting a little bit before the record comes out. But on social media recently, we'll say, there was a video where what was it? It was either That's Not My Name or Great DJ, but you played it on Instagram and on TikTok in such like a Southern California, Laurel Canyon, like there was like beautiful guitar licks, like you almost kind of brought that Ting Tings sound of old into this new record, which I thought was really, really like beautifully done and a really smart thing to do as well, because it then kind of allows anyone who might have been uncertain about the sonic change or not sure what's going on, it kind of allows them to bridge that gap and come to this album in a different way, I guess.
Yeah, that's part of the intention. We obviously started with this new record. We got a bunch of musicians together that play in some of the greatest bands, 10cc's and the ELOs and stuff like that. We got them together to jam it out. We had that, like you said, the Eagles. We'd wake up in the morning and go like, oh, I'd love to have been in the Eagles. And we kind of tried to recreate that with these great musicians. And it was a test about a year and a half ago or so, when we had the album almost finished, and it worked amazing. You know, as we went into that band environment, let's say, it was such a dream. And
like reimagining our song.
What we did is that we obviously started with the new songs to see if they would work. And once we knew they would work, then I can't remember the date. About a month ago, we did our first shows in London. It was 2 sellout shows in town, and we got the band again together. And we said, right, we're going to take this to stage and test it out. And they were small shows, about like 800 cap or 1,000 cap or something like that. And we were nervous because we hadn't been on stage for a while. But just before we went down, me and Katie both thought, wait a minute, you know, how are we going to bring the old songs into this arena or into this shape? And we did exactly what you said. We brought 5 of the songs from the first record into the band, and we delicately just thought about what we're currently inspired and how we're living our lives. And we had approached it that way and rehearsed those songs and took them on the stage. And it was amazing. I mean, it was almost like those songs finally got released, got set free, jammed them on the stage. That's My Name, Shut Up and Let Me Go, Great DJ, We Walk, and
Be the One,
you know, from the first album. We played them all with the guitars and the whole outfit, and it's just like chains coming off. You could fly like a butterfly. It was amazing. And that's what kind of inspired us to bring it into our lives even more. Social media, we started the guy that's on the guitar, Tim Sandyford, he's in our band and he's a great guitarist. We said, like, can you pop over, sit down with us, and we're just going to jam it out and record it and let our fans hear some of this kind of, you know, newfound love. So it went out and it's had a massive response. So much so that we're going to re-record a batch of those songs. Can't give you the exact list, but most of the ones that we're playing live, because they work so well, we're going to re-record them. And there's talk of us putting after this album, like a deluxe version will come out with like a double album with re-recordings of the old songs in this style. They work so well. I
think it'll be online now, but there's like a version of Shut Up and Let Me Go, and I don't know how it came out of us, but it sounds like a sad Carpenter song. It's so lovely, and it's so interesting and exciting for us to perform as well, because it's different. And it shows that at the core of like those big songs like That's Not My Name, there is the songs are there, and that's why they keep going. I think like so many years later, they're on big syncs, they're always trending on TikTok. It's because at the core, as songwriters, we hope that the core is strong song. What we're obsessed with is like our happy places in the studio songwriting.
Well, I think to your point, Katie, that like, yeah, the song almost took on this different interpretation and this different life, which I thought was just really impressive. And it's obviously, yeah, something that drawing attention to this album, which I think is fantastic, because I think you've both done this incredible job of writing across this record. Jules, I know that you produced it as well, which I kind of want to touch on in a second. I was hoping that you might be able to talk me through the track In My Hand. I thought that was an absolutely lovely song. It had this beautiful, timeless kind of quality to it. And Katie, with no disrespect to yourself, Jules, your voice on this track as well, Chef Kiss, wondering whether you might be able to talk us through where this song kind of came from or what inspired In My Hand.
Well, I mean, me and Katie write all the songs. On this album, Katie really took hold of the lyrics. We were obviously really concentrating on making this record as it is, like the instrumentation we used, the production value, the musicianship. We had to work about getting back on our instruments. The problem is with the music industry, the live circuit's not there anymore. I mean, obviously for successful bands it is, but for new bands it's really tough, and everybody's in their bedroom and on laptops or on social media where we see everything. Whereas years ago, we'd go to a lot more local gigs. And it's a ease, really. And I think what we first did was push ourselves to get back on our instruments, push ourselves to drop our laptops, to write on in front of each other, as a band would do. So in terms of what the song means, we both have sometimes different meanings for certain songs. I won't go through the whole list of them, but we'll be writing stuff and I'll be thinking something like Home, for example, would be about getting back home. And then obviously I was thinking much more about our daughter, if there's any trouble, come home. And then Katie's interpretation of it as a writer was slightly different. So in my hand, the weird thing about that song, and I let Katie pick up on that a little bit more with the lyrics, was what you said, more importantly, me vocal, being more vocal on this album. Of course, I'm really nervous about that, being a drummer first and foremost and playing guitar behind the scenes, toured all my life in the Ting Tings behind my protective barrier of drums and sung. It was okay being in the studio playing around with my vocal. Kate said, you really can sing, you need to be singing some of this stuff. And then you've got to think about, well, hold on a minute, if I sing some of this stuff, how the hell am I going to go on stage and do it? That was leaving my ear and getting on the guitar to be able to do that. So two things happen. One, there's the song content, what the song's about. Which
is about our daughter just basically going, when you have your meltdown, which life will throw at you probably in your late teens, early 20s, will come and bail you out. And always being there. And for our child, I think it was probably a joint sentiment from
It was a joint sentiment on this song, but from my point of view, to sing it felt, my God, it was just such an emotional moment because we were talking about our daughter and I'm her father, and I was thinking I'd be getting into town as a father should do when a child is in trouble and saying, we're getting out of here, I'm here for you. And so we went in the studio and we were listening to Glenn Campbell a lot as well, the Richard Lineman, and big song for us, a massive song. And I kept thinking, because of my tone and Katie saying, you can do this, I kept thinking...
James Taylor as well.
James Taylor. I kept thinking of these singers that were storytellers more than divas, as a new vocalist. Going out there really pounding it out. I was like, well, I'm not a soul singer, I'm not a Motown guy. How do we tell the story? And I've got like a deep range. And I kept thinking about that kind of country, folk, Laurel Canyon, storytelling.
Underdone, really.
Underdone play, yeah. How do I do this? And I started singing. And it was just an amazing turning point in my life where I was not so much thinking about the rhythms and the track and the music. I was actually thinking about the lyrics and the delivery of the vocal line. So you pick up on that song. It's a really big one for me because I to this day I keep thinking I got to do the vocal again. Because it's just such a new ground.
Jules kept going backwards and forwards. Before our first London show, we'd be in like deep rehearsals in Ibiza, and he would be like, right, I'm just going to go back on the drums. I can sing that from behind the drum kit. I'm like, no, we'll see your head just above the drums. How can you sing that beautiful song hiding behind a drum kit? And he was like, yeah, but that's my instrument. I feel comfortable. I'm totally out of my comfort zone. And then 5 days later, he'd be like, no, I can do it. I can stand at the front. And then 5 days later, he'd be like, no. And I've got footage of us like arguing where I'm like, make your fucking minds up. We're like 10 days away from the show and now you want to like hide behind the drums again. But I'm so glad he did it because it was a risk and it massively paid off on the show because we was like, how's it going to feel without the energy of Jules on the drum kit? And that's always been our setup. And there's bands like the Carpenters and the band, but they can have a drummer that can sing take some leads. But for us, you're singing half the album. You can't be hiding behind a drum kit. And I'm just glad he took that risk. And you did poop your pants a little bit.
I did.
His knees were knocking.
That's true, yeah.
But then he was like, oh God, yeah, like it completely makes sense of what we're doing for us both to be stood at the front delivering this album.
100%. It is a risk, I think, that has definitely paid off. So, Jules, congratulations on taking that risk. It has definitely, done something special with this record and specifically with that track. That was something that I just kind of kept, it was a track that I kept coming back to and listening to time and time again on it. So, congratulations on the track and on the record. I am curious that, I guess, how you found that translation of bringing it to the live stage, as you said, there have been 2 London shows already. In terms of obviously sitting down in the studio and writing and producing and being able to take time is one major kind of step of the record. But then when you go to bring it into that live arena and have it being played out into a band, have you found that the songs have changed in a way, if that makes sense? Obviously, we've now got you maybe out front of the drums instead of behind them, Jules, but I guess for both of you, have you found that the songs have either changed their interpretation or maybe the arrangement based on how they're now changing the dynamic of the band?
Oh, it's interesting. Like, for us, it's just we can't believe we've not done this type of thing sooner as well. Like, we've loved being a duo, and we were very techie. Like, we had lots of loop pedals around us. Like, literally, we'd have like a loop pedal hot wired to another loop pedal to just make ourselves be able to sound much bigger and fuller by looping on stage. But now, I don't know, especially for Jules, I think he can enjoy performing, which we have amazing musicians. Like, we're over the moon with the musicians that we're bringing in around us on stage. And we've spent like a year and a half building relationships with these guys. And Jess, who's amazing. She does BVs with us. And it's a complete other different life of almost, we can dream of touring like this for 5 years, just slowly touring around the world very gracefully. And, that would be the dream. Just, play shows and get better and better as musicians every night. And they don't even have to be big venues. Just when you're playing every night with a bunch of talented musicians, it just gets better and better. And that's kind of it's probably a calmer way of touring, which we've never had before. We used to tour quite chaotically, and it was very intense, our shows. We'd been on a huge festival stage, and there's just 2 of us. It's like, how do we make this into a big show? So it suits us as we're getting older. We don't have to break a sweat as much.
But I imagine as well, and I'm sure that there are going to be quite a number of large venues on this tour, but I imagine that even when you're playing songs like this in a bit more of an intimate venue, you can actually hear certain parts of the song a little bit better, if that makes sense. I feel like sometimes that those tracks and artists, or I guess genres that are like singer-songwritery, folky, that they, in bigger and broader rooms, they can kind of get lost. That intimacy, that magic can kind of lose its way with it. And so I think that when we do kind of see some more tour dates announced from the band, that it's going to be really special to attend these shows, because I imagine that what you've done with this sound and with the band is going to be, something that is very different for fans, but I think in kind of the best way possible.
I mean, the thing is, I think the thing we have to remember here is that if you compare our first record and our first tours to what the new record's about and how we're going to tour this, concert goers, when you go and see shows, you buy a ticket to a show and you kind of go to see or hear the hits, and you know what you want to see because you're into the band already. And so coming to see an early Ting Tings show, there was a chant, there was the hits, and there was the energy. And that's the thing that you kind of get with the early Ting Tings, like art, pop, if you want, punk. We were all about that, and that's why the loop pedals worked, because having all the musicians on stage would have blunted that edge that we created, just the 2 of us. We filled that stage. Kate would run around like she was killing wasps, and it was just like a crazy moment. And I just smashed the hell out of the drums, and then she'd punk out on the guitar, and it was part of the energy and part of what the show was about. That was what people saw and got off of, and they got complimented consistently about how good we were live in just a duo. But you're right, in that context, the energy hides some of the song content, because people are just jumping around, and there's this moment of madness when the Ting Tings were playing That's Not My Name and Shut Up and Let Me Go, and there's all the beats going, the big drums were hitting and the cowbells and stuff like that. And these songs now, re-recorded or playing live, the songs have just got even stronger. We play Shut Up and Let Me Go, like Kate was saying. You can hear the quality in the song now, whereas you probably wouldn't have got it. You just got the beat going, everyone's going crazy. So you're absolutely right. Having like our dream is, I never got to see the Eagles, but our dream to be something like the Eagles of all the footage we've seen, or we did see Steely Dan and a lot of other bands, but we'd come out of those type of shows going like, oh my God, you got the percussionist over on the left, boom, boom, you have the keyboard player Donald Fagen or whatever playing on the right, you know, covering the roads and the organs and stuff with the BB girls and guys in the background. Then you got the drummer laying it down. You have all these things happening in a very kind of Americana, if you want, cool way that's got a groove to it. And you just came out with such a width of sound and vibe, whereas the Tings early stuff was just like right down the middle, mono in your face, Eddie Cochran style, you know, kind of old rock and roll. But this is a different approach. And it's people like this, people that are going to like our new record, they're going to come along and they're going to get all that. You know, we're not cutting any corners. It's a 9-piece band on stage. It's unheard of to put a new record out and tour a 9-piece band. People are going like, how's that going to work? Every agent and manager in the world, we can't.
I don't think it's going to be the most profitable of our career, but it'll be the most profitable with soul.
It's
so
just
it'll be
got
all
so
right.
much soul in it. It just feels so good to be on stage, singing and pitching the harmonies with the vocals and ourselves, like getting those beautiful kind of, you know, Carpenter, whatever you want. It's just, I don't know, for the first time for me and Katie, particularly me coming off on drums, being able to sit the vocals in the right place and look at each other across the stage to the other guys and girls as well, and just going, wow, we just do a 7-part harmony. That was amazing. Like, you know, and that just feeling what they must have felt when they were sitting on stage, panning out 5-piece harmonies. You know, it's just a different feeling.
It's how we'd like to get old. Is like kind of imagine we could do this till you're 90. That's what's amazing. Like you could literally go right and these
Joni Mitchell.
Yeah, like I'd love to be like that.
I think these shows are going to be something absolutely incredible. I'm very excited to see the 9-piece on stage. That's very impressive. So I'm very, very kind of excited to see that. I know we kind of alluded to it a little bit before that we are recording this conversation a little bit before the record has come out when people are listening. There's currently only, I think, a small handful of dates on the website. I imagine that by the time that this episode does come out, we're going to have a lot more dates that we can kind of promote across the US and Europe and in other countries.
Yes, we hope so. Yes,
yeah.
We have a 4-year-old, so we have to like kind of schedule it around not ruining her life by making her just live on a tour bus forever. But yeah, I think we'd go out for like 6 weeks at a time and then come back for a month or two to like regroup. And we'd love to do some shows in Ibiza as well, and people come out to see us there. We're just starting to plan like a little, well, we would have just done it now by this point, a show at like this little blues bar at the side of the road in Ibiza, just like a dusty little, probably can hold 200 people. And we'd love to do some shows like that and film them as well and do like Insta lives and TikTok lives and things like that.
That would be very, very cool. Very excited to see that when that does happen. And once this episode is live, we'll make sure that we have all those tour dates in the show notes for people to purchase, find out where you're playing, come along and see you. Katie and Jules, we usually kind of wrap things up asking our guests what they are currently listening to. For yourselves at this moment in time, is there anything that's on high rotation?
It's all late 70s. Early 80s soft rock. We just made an epic playlist on Spotify, the one we've been listening to for the past 4 years, and that's everything from like Toto Africa, Christopher Cross Sailing. It's got Dire Straits, So Far Away From Me, which is it called Far Away From Me?
Sorry, which one was it?
So Far Away from
Yeah, Dire Straits.
Yeah, it's got
Phil Lynot's on there. Oh my God! I mean, but what I'm trying to think, what is something that we go-to at the moment? I think I've been listening to. I mentioned it before, Glenn Campbell, Wichita Linesman. That's been going around and round and round on my playlist. When you take a bit of meditation time and get out the studio, that's the one I keep going back to. Johnny Cash, again, listening to, for me, Mal Deep vocals, just learning tricks from some of the greats. Really, that's a big thing for me.
And regarding new stuff, we both got obsessed with Lola Young. Like, we just thought she had such a look in her eye when she delivers those songs. Like, just
great.
Yeah, and she's just got a look in her eye that means it, and you can see it, and it's edgy. And Infinity Song, which is
they're great.
They're like a sibling band based in New York area in the States. They're amazing. They're a little bit soft rock, which is up our street. We're definitely in easy breezy mode. We can't seem to listen to anything else but that kind of music.
I was going to say, I feel like Infinity Song are almost, like a continuation of some of those bands that we spoke about earlier. So I think, absolutely fantastic choice there. Katie and Jules, thank you so much for coming to chat to us on the podcast today. Congratulations on the brand new Ting Tings record. It's called Home. It's out now when people are listening, and we'll make sure there are links within the show notes for people to purchase the record, catch them on tour, and all that fun stuff. But seriously, thank you so much for coming to have a chat with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.